3, 2, 1. Kanpai! Special Junmai. Okay?
Who is this enthusiastic character? This is Kosuke Kuji.
Sake rice, the name of Gin Otome. Gin Otome.
Sake has been brewed in Japan for 1,000 years or more. Kuji is the 5th generation head of a sake brewery in northern Japan. Proudly using locally grown rice and water from its own well, the brewery continues to make sake the good old-fashioned way. Kuji sake is acclaimed worldwide. The official sake of the FIFA World Cup and served aboard selected flights to and from Japan. Now Kuji is trying to persuade Australia's largest casino hotel to carry his goods.
こんにちは。世界中で日本酒で乾杯。これが僕の生涯をかけて追いかける夢です。すべての国だね。All of the world.
We followed Kosuke Kuji's quest to bring sake from his small brewery in Japan's north to the rest of the world. Ninohe in Iwate Prefecture, a small city of around 30,000, is home to Kuji's sake brewery. Founded 113 years ago, sake is brewed during the winter, bitterly cold in this region. Around a ton of rice is steamed first thing each morning. Kuji runs the brewery with its staff of 30 and also takes the lead in brewing the company's sake. Today's rice is Gin Otome. This locally developed variety is grown with organic fertilizer and minimal pesticide use. The quantity of water must be finely adjusted for factors such as rice type and humidity.
いい蒸し上がりですよ。とてもいい蒸し上がりです。
20% of the steamed rice is taken to the koji room. Koji mold spores assist in the fermentation of sake. These white spores are not the conventional variety, but a new type developed by Kuji together with a specialist researcher.
Our koji mold helps prevent degradation of unpasteurized sake. This safeguards product quality, which is crucial.
The spores are sprinkled by hand over the steamed rice to make koji, the term for rice on which the mold is cultured, turning starch to sugar.
Koji has to be made exactly right. That's why we use so many workers. This is the most labor-intensive step. Looking at the industry, this is where breweries streamline to cut costs. Big brewers automate this process entirely. It's all done by machines at the push of a button. But we don't want to do it that way. We make our koji by hand, the old-fashioned way.
But Kuji doesn't rely solely on instinct. Thermometers are used for the precise temperature control needed to propagate the mold. It's a demanding process. The proper temperature and humidity need to be maintained for 2 days and nights. The quality of the koji determines the flavor of the sake. The remaining steamed rice is added to a tank containing koji, yeast, and water. The water used here is drawn from the brewery's own well. Sake ferments in the tank for about a month. Kuji Fuji's sakes are born from a commitment to using the best possible ingredients and brewing processes to bring out the optimal flavor and aroma of the rice. The carefully handcrafted sakes of Kuji's brewery have won gold 12 times at Japan's annual competition for new sakes. Today, Kuji is welcoming an important group of visitors to the brewery.
横付けバーンしてくれって一応言ったから。
あれですかね。
ようこそようこそ。
The visitors have all traveled at least 20 hours from overseas to join a tour of the brewery. From the US, Brazil, and beyond, there are sommelier restaurateurs and other sake-related trades. Kuji begins to explain what sets his sake brewing apart.
無化学肥料減農薬栽培の銀乙女という酒米酒造工的名を使っています。
The group is very interested in the rice, adroitly inspecting the ingredients. New York-based sake expert Timothy Sullivan gives lectures on sake and has been instrumental in growing the drink's popularity outside Japan. For Kuji's employees, this is also a valuable opportunity to hear the opinions of foreign sake experts firsthand.
海外の方もすごい日本酒に関しては勉強されてるなっていうのを感じるので、やっぱり緊張します。やっぱり嘘はつけないので。
まあやっぱり緊張しますけども、やっぱりこっちもプロなんで、やっぱりこうね、南美人の良さをこう知って書いていただきたいなと思ってます。はい。
Kuji even takes the visitors to the Koji room, which is normally off limits to all but staff.
じゃあこの朝麹菌を振りかけて半日置いたやつを。もしもし、おはよう。Good morning. It's morning. これは食べれますよ。蒸したものです。
Try to eat some of it off bite.
The visitors are invited to taste the carefully hand-prepared koji.
Is this the one koji room for all levels of Nambu Bijin sake, from Futsushu, Daiginjo? Is this?
大吟醸は全部こっちの部屋でやります。それなんでかっていうと温度と乾燥の差をつけたいので、大吟醸は特別のこっちの部屋。
Sake brewer Junji Matsumori prepares some freshly wrung, undiluted sake for the visitors.
どんな感想を言われるかはすごく気になりますね。はい。どういうふうに感じてくれるかがやっぱり日本人とは違うと思うんで、その辺どうなるのか。
This is Genshu, freshly wrung sake in undiluted form that can only be drunk here at the brewery.
It's good to drink.
The Genshu wows the taste buds of the visiting sake professionals. Some of the brewery's other sakes are also presented for tasting. This select sake is from a first rung batch. And Matsumori is pouring an aged sake.
なんだっけ？12 years age?
やってくださいます。Please, please.
Hirano offers his guests Junmai Daiginjo. This fine sake is made from rice whose grains have been polished down to the core.
スマホでこう調べてみる感じ。
それぞれ違うお酒をこう試されて、やっぱり人それぞれでやっぱり好みが違うんだなっていうのを感じてますね。
The handcrafted sake of Kuji's brewery makes a strong impression on Sullivan.
But when you come to a brewery, you meet the people and the kurabito and the kuramoto. And that's like a secret ingredient for making sake. The people give a spirit to the sake. So that's very important to come to Japan and see the brewery to learn about the sake.
I am sure that our visitors will all talk up our sake in their own countries. They can show photos of their visit and talk about it to lots of people. I hope that others who hear about us back home will also want to come and visit, which will be a big bonus.
After his visit, Sullivan posted the following comment on social media. It gives his thoughts on the freshly wrung door-closing Genshu.
Tasty Nambu Bijin Nama Genshu, fresh from the press. Fruity, smooth, and transcendent.
Kuji was born and raised here in Ninohe, in Iwate Prefecture. He was born in 1972 as the oldest son of the head of the brewery. At that time, liberalization of imports was boosting demand for foreign spirits in Japan. Sake production was in steep decline.
For a while, it looked like we might have to close. There was a lot of pressure. Everywhere I went, people said, "You'll run Nambu Bijin someday. You need to do a good job." Honestly, I hated being told that when I was a kid.
But a turning point came for Kuji when he went to spend a month studying in the US.
My homestay family's dad said to me, "You were born into an amazing family. There are many who wish they were born as heir to a brewery that makes such delicious sake. You're so fortunate." He would say that every night.
This planted the seed of a dream for Kuji, to make a sake that would be acclaimed around the world. At college, he learned the science of brewing, taking the latest knowledge back to revolutionize his family business. His first step was to stop using activated charcoal in the sake's finishing process.
We used to dump in tons and tons of charcoal dust.
At that time, the brewery's practice was to add charcoal like this to wrung sake. The activated carbon would absorb compounds likely to degrade the sake's quality before being filtered out. This was the standard practice to increase sake's shelf life. But Kuji decided to do away with this stage, believing it took away from the sake's essential flavor.
Taking a flavorful sake and dumping in charcoal to make it something bland and generic? We might as well quit brewing sake.
But abandoning carbon filtration meant decreasing shelf life. The solution was another of Kuji's innovations.
It's -5 degrees.
This giant refrigerator that can hold entire tanks of sake allowed the wares to be stored without loss of flavor. But Kuji's idea met with resistance from colleagues.
People were furious with me. It was expensive to install this stuff. But I insisted it was necessary to improve the quality of our sake.
Kuji also installed younger brewery staff. The sake industry is traditionally dominated by veterans, but the average age at Kuji's brewery is now just 38. To create sake to match his vision, Kuji needed a workforce with the physical strength required to carry out brewing processes by hand, as well as a positive attitude and willingness to try new things.
The place was full of old-timers. I was the only young person. The veterans weren't bad at their jobs, but they lacked enthusiasm for the changes that I wanted to make to improve our sake.
In a brave move, Kuji hired young workers with no sake brewing experience. One of them was Matsumori, whose in-laws own a liquor store.
Were you always interested in brewing sake?
まあ思ってなかったです、その頃は。はい。日本酒も飲めなかったです。
信じられないでしょ。
Now he is a master brewer with 20 years of experience and numerous industry awards under his belt.
There was risk, but I chose to hire young local people. Sake brewing is a team sport. You can't brew delicious sake without great team spirit.
18 years into Kuji's revolution, the sake made to his uncompromising standards has won acclaim, nearly doubling sales. Now that Kuji is making the sake he always dreamed of, he is ready to chase his ultimate goal, bringing it to the world. But he faces one last hurdle, the reluctance of his father, then running the business side of the brewery.
My son is convinced that we have to do this. I understand that. But I'm the one who has to look at whether a big investment like that makes financial sense, not Kosuke.
He said, "Why do you want to go abroad when we're selling well in Japan? Exporting costs money. You'll be ripped off." He's so negative and conservative.
I just saw it as one of his passing fancies. He had me worried. But at some point, I have to turn the whole business over to him anyway. So I eventually figured, why not let him?
In 1997, along with other enterprising sake brewers from the region, Kuji founded the Sake Export Association. They launched sales promotion efforts first in New York, then around the world. But demand at that time for sake was small, and most establishments only carried products from the big Japanese brewers.
They said, "I'm not putting some unknown sake on my menu." I said, "I'll take no for an answer, but only if you taste it first." I talked about my dream of sake reaching the world, but they slammed the door in my face. I was shocked and angry, but I decided, I'll show them.
Even as he sought overseas sales channels, Kuji was developing new types of sake, daring to defy accepted industry wisdom. The golden ratio of sake brewing is traditionally considered to be 80% rice to 20% koji. Kuji decided to brew a sake from 100% koji.
That was unknown territory. We had no idea how it would turn out, and our first efforts failed. Because there was no precedent for it. How could we expect to get it right the first time? It tasted awful.
After many improvements, in 1998 they released an exceedingly sweet sake made with 100% koji, but sales did not match their expectations. 10 years later, however, this sake gave birth to a surprising new hit product. Today, Kuji and his family are eating lunch at a local restaurant. As an aperitif, Kuji orders an umeshu, brewed only with koji. The idea behind this beverage came from his wife, Rika.
オール麹っていうお酒にいつもいちごを入れたりとか、フルーツ入れて氷入れて、でそれで飲んでたんですね。私がすごく気に入って、でそれを主人が見てなんかピンときたみたいで。
Kuji had an inspiration. Why not make a fruit sake? He decided to use unripe ume plums. So was born a groundbreaking umeshu, plum wine. There was no added sugar, just the natural sweetness of koji and a gorgeous hue. In 2012, this umeshu was awarded a prize in Japan for technological innovation. It's early April, and spring has come to Ninohe in northern Japan. This Shinto ritual is to offer thanks to the god of sake and gratefully report that the winter's production run was a good one. In late April, Kuji heads to Sydney, Australia. He makes at least 5 overseas trips per year to sell the brewery's sake to foreign markets. This time he is holding a tasting at a popular Japanese restaurant in Sydney. He has 2 different types of sake to serve, the umeshu and a special junmai. At 7 p.m, Kuji makes his entrance to the packed restaurant.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. My name is Kosuke Kuji. I'm from Japan. This is plum wine, but this is no sugar added. No sugar added plum sake, plum wine. Okay. This I have patent. Yes, and this color is very lovely color. Yeah. And cheers is Japanese. Kanpai. Kanpai. Yes. 3, 2, 1. Kanpai.
It was tastings like these that brought Kuji's sake directly to consumers and helped to crack the foreign market.
特別純米酒、スペシャル純米。Okay?
And you just sip it?
Sip it?
Sip or like...
Yeah, a little bit. Not...
No, like...
Please try.
That's delicious.
Oh, thank you very much.
Very nice.
And smooth?
Yes, it's so smooth.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
He convinced me to drink sake, and I don't drink sake normally. So he convinced me, and it's delicious. So I would drink it again. A lot.
Ninohe is so far from here, way up in Iwate in northern Japan, a hemisphere away from Australia. It's amazing to think that people here are drinking my sake.
Kuji's wares can be found at the UN, at embassies, and in many other venues. Riding a global boom in the popularity of Japanese cuisine, he now exports sake to 24 countries, accounting for 17% of the brewery's sales. This time, Kuji is visiting Melbourne for the first time for a major sales meeting. The potential customer he wants to win over is a luxury casino hotel that draws guests with discriminating tastes from all over the world. The client has placed a request with Kuji for an exclusive sake that will be available only to drinkers at this hotel. He has brought samples of several of his brewery's sakes to give a tasting as part of his pitch. No matter where in the world he goes, Kuji always wears his happi, a traditional coat.
It's formal attire, so it keeps me focused and in the right frame of mind. I was feeling tired until I'd put on my happi, and now I'm a new man. I would wear this to the White House. In fact, I did wear it to the UN.
Now for the moment of truth.
Nice to meet you. My name is Kosuke Kuji. Andrew. Nice to meet you.
Waiting for him in the restaurant are the hotel's executive sous chef, the chef of the Japanese restaurant, and the restaurant manager. as well as the sake sommelier, who arranged today's sales call. Kuji has brought 4 sakes for them to sample, each a Junmai Ginjo, made from a different rice. Will any of these tickle the taste buds of these experts in fine dining?
We don't do any charcoal filtering of our sake, so the color and flavor of the rice are retained. That's why this sake has this tint. Please, try some. This is a very dry sake, but it has a richness that engages the whole palate.
The chef appears unmoved. Kuji moves on to his next sake.
The rice we use for this is very soft. It practically melts. This type of rice produces a really strong flavor, and it's the most challenging rice to brew with because great care is needed to avoid an unpleasant taste.
Oh, it's very delicate. It's got a very different mouthfeel as well. It's got a lot of texture almost to it.
The chef seems intrigued by this sake. Now, Kuji moves on to a sake made with the king of sake rice, the variety called Yamada Nishiki.
It goes well with chicken, but also with beef. It's perfect with dishes that use soy sauce. It presents a very different nose.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's really nice because, especially I think for teppanyaki, yes. As well. It's with more sweet flavor, strong flavor food on teppanyaki. I think that would be a good one.
I think it reaches a broad audience as well. It's like you say, Pinot Noir and Cabernet Sauvignon. You know what I mean? The Cabernet Sauvignon appeals to more bigger audience as well. So very nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Kuji's sake has sealed the deal. Sake evangelist Kosuke Kuji. For almost 20 years, he has been bringing sake to the world.
It is my dream to see people all around the world raising a toast with sake. That's my mission in life. I'm still just getting started. It's a big, big world. There are still more markets crying out for sake and demanding my attention. My dream is all out there.